Hi Meritech team, real quick, we're going to run a fast video on how to assemble the CleanTech 2000S with controlled access and all the things that you need to do that for a trade show. So we'll try to get through this. I'll try not to use too many words and make this really complicated, but we'll get this done. First and foremost, we need to go over all the items you need to put this together. So if we come look over here, we've got our grate system disassembled. You have the actual bars for the turnstile. You have your CleanTech 2000S system. You have the turnstile. You have the dryer wall back panel, and you have two plates. These are the important parts to make sure you have them ready to go, because they have get all that items out ready to go for the assembly. Over here on the table, real quickly, we have all the tools you need. Number 2 Phillips channel locks, 2 T-Allens, a ratchet, a socket, and a long extension, 2 small wire nuts, 3 larger wire nuts. You have then 3 bolts that are used specifically for the head unit to attach to the turnstile, 4 bolts that are used specifically to bolt the turnstile body to the plate. You then have 7 bolts to bolt the dryer wall to the grating system, and then you have 11 bolts to bolt the back panel to the dryer wall. You will also have included in your kit spares of these items should you misplace one. First and foremost, we need to get the system set. The system setup will be easy. You want to set it at the break, the center line of the drain, at the break in your booth. This needs to be, when looking at the booth, this needs to be on the left-hand side. So let's get that set up now. So we've got the 2 plates down already. The back of the booth is right here, and the break in the booth is right here where the 2000S system is going to be. There's 2 different plates. Please understand that these plates are extremely heavy. You do need 2 people to help you move them. Watch your fingers when putting them down. The 2 plates have, this one large plate goes down first. You can see where the 2000S goes. You have the back of the booth here, as well as then the turnstile goes here, and it guides it. The non-slip tape faces up. This is a secondary plate to keep everything level that just slides into place. Get this set at the proper booth location, and then we're going to get things moved into place. We're going to get the turnstile put on. Josh, want to help me move the turnstile? You just want to set your turnstile in here to be able to kind of get it set and so forth. We still have to take the front panel out and get it bolted on. One of the first things you'll need, grab your turnstile keys. Once this turnstile is unlocked, don't lose these. Really critical. To get the lid off, you kind of push forward and lift the back and lift straight up. Very critical. If you don't do that, you'll never get the lid off. Once you get the lid off, you'll need your number 2 screwdriver. There are 2 screws, one on the left and right, on the inside of this panel. You remove these 2 number 10 sheet metal screws, or number 10 screws, and you'll be able to lift the panel out once these screws are removed. Again, don't lose these screws. Once you get that out, you then can start working on removing the panel out of your way. Now that the panel is out of the way, we can work on bolting the turnstile down to this plate. The whole purpose of this plate is to keep this from moving when somebody's actually using the system. So we're going to line up the turnstile with the bolt holes in the bottom. We're going to take our 9/16 socket, our ratchet, and our 4 larger bolts, and we're going to bolt the turnstile to the plate. Get all your bolts started first before finish tightening them down. Once they're all started, then go ahead and tighten them down. You don't have to go super tight, just need to be snug. That's it. We don't want to over tighten them because we have to get them out later. Done. The next step is we're going to go ahead and put the grating down in front of this, and then we'll work on getting the 2000S in there. Not yet. Let's go ahead and get the grate in, Josh. Now that the grating system is in, it's kind of loose. It just sets in place. There's nothing that needs to bolt it in place. Then we can get the system in and we can start getting the wire put under and get it ready to go inside this to get this wired. Just a quick cautionary note, on the back side of this there are 2 plugs. One of those for the CleanTech system, the extra cord is inside. The extra one here is for the turnstile. Please note that it's got a zip tie through it. The purpose of this, so you do not plug this in until you're fully wired, because the opposite end of this is bare wires. Don't plug this in until you're fully done. Let's go ahead and get the machine in, Josh. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay. Once the system's in place, we're going to go ahead and get this power cord moved in and underneath this grating. All I do when I do this is I just lift up a little on the grating and I pull it through. Just looks like that. So what it should look like when you're on this side of this is over here, it should look like this cord comes through and lines up with the turnstile. Just like this. Okay? Let's go ahead and cut these wire ties off here and then force the wires through the hole. Now on the end of this conduit elbow is the nut for this. Go ahead and pull this off. Okay? Go ahead and force your 2 wires through the hole. And then go ahead and put the nut back on through the wires. Slide the nut all the way down and attach it to the conduit elbow. Doesn't need to be real snug. Hand tight is usually enough that you can do it, but if you feel you need to do a little bit more, you're more than welcome to grab it with the pair of channel locks that I just used and give it a little bit more snug. Don't be a hero, because you can over tighten it and strip it. Done. Once you have that done, there are these 2 wire ties right here. Run them up through here so that these wires stay to the back side, and then run them up into here so they're out of the way. Nothing more needs to be done to those. Now we're going to go ahead and wire the system. I just noticed that the low voltage wires are not connected, so I'm going to go ahead and strip them back. They'll be stripped when you get it. So you have two wires. This is the control cable. Inside the turnstile is another control cable, which is two wires as well. Pretty simple, black to black, blue to blue, black to black, red to red, and use the blue wire nuts. That's gonna happen. Once that's done, you have your control cable done. Now we need to get the AC wired. Same thing on the AC side, we have three wires. You have your ground, which is your greens. Tie those two together. Use the wire nut. Then you've got your blacks. If your wire nut seems like it's wanting to fall off, just leave them loose, push them both into the end, and let the wire nut do the twisting. And then your white wires together. A good test when using a wire nut, once you get done and you kind of feel that resistance, is do a quick snug test. If the snug test is there, it's safe. These are now complete. We want to leave them right this. We don't want to change this any further. We want to go ahead and get our panel put in and get this closed up. We'll come back in with our panel. Coming down low. You might have to adjust things around a little bit just so that you can get this in there. Sorry, I got to get this around the head unit. There's a little groove that this fits in, both on the left and right sides. It has to fit in that groove, and you won't be able to get the turnstile in. The panel. The panel is now in place. Use those two screws from earlier and your screwdriver and lock them back in place. This way, when you're using it, it doesn't rattle. It's the same on both the right and the left sides. Once that's done, I want to go ahead and take my wires. I want to kind of tuck them off to the side. I want to make sure that they're not around the mechanics of the turnstile. This is the mechanical mechanism that allows it to turn and so forth. And I'm going to go ahead and put my lid back on. Again, on the lid, when you push it down, you want to bring it forward a little bit and then let it go down to where it's sitting flat. Go ahead and lock it in place. Well, there you go. Next step is we want to actually get the dryer wall, which is right here. We want to get the dryer wall actually attached to the base. It's a pretty simple item. It's pretty lightweight, but always help. This is good. Go ahead and put it on. It just sets there. What we then do is now bolt this dryer wall into place. On the back side of this, there are a lot of different bolts. There's actually 7 bolts that bolt the dryer wall to the base. If you'll see this, they are a socket cap screw with a split lock washer. You just kind of line up your screws again, get them all started, and then you can tighten them down. Again, they don't have to be super, super tight. You do want to make sure you do have that split lock washer, because again, it keeps your noise down and prevents vibration from everything vibrating. Once I have them all a little bit hand tight and snug, I'm just gonna come back with my Allen and I'm gonna just snug them all up. Again, not super tight. We just want it to be bolted on and not move and not rattle. You're gonna do the same thing on this on all 7 of these bolts. Once all 7 of these bolts are done, this part of this is complete except for putting on the back panel, which we'll do next. Using a different Allen, we're going to go ahead and attach the back panel. One of the things I do with this is I get all my hardware, I get set up right here on the top of my panel. I know it's a little difficult because we've got the booth behind us. One of the things I do, we know where the booth brake has to be right here. We actually have the booth pushed out a little bit, do our work, then we bring the booth to this. This is too hard to move. The booth is really easy to move. The panel is right here. So there's really only a couple things that have to happen with the panel. If you notice, there's a sticker right here. This sticker says in the back what it is, serial number, so forth. This actually goes in the upper left-hand corner when you're setting this in. All I do is put my foot underneath it. I kind of line up where I need to be to get my first couple bolts started. That way I can get them all kind of going in there and then let the 2 upper bolts hold the weight of the panel. Again, the process is going to be simple. I am going to now just kind of work my way down this panel, maybe lifting it a little bit, and hand start all these bolts all the way to the bottom. Once all these bolts are in, and there's actually a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 bolts in this, you're going to go ahead and use this Allen set that will be in your tools and go ahead and snug them up. Again, it does not have to be over tight. We're just wanting to get this snugged up. This part of this assembly is now complete. The last piece we have to do is actually assemble the head unit. The head unit is the most critical part of the turnstile. This is the head unit. Now this is a little bit more challenging to put on. Again, we're going to go back to our larger Allen set. And what this does is this bolts to the face. You kind of got to get yourself worked in here. There are 3 screws in here and you got to look and see what direction it's facing. So you're going to have 2 like this always and 1 down low. What I do is I always put this in, kind of get it put up here. It's a little bit challenging because you can't really see where it is to get it started. And I drop my bolt. It's okay, I got another bolt. I'm going to try to do this again. Once I get one started, it'll be fairly easy to get the rest in. Because all you have to do is then rotate it. I'm going to kind of take this in a little bit snug and then rotate the unit till I get the other one lined up. And then I drop my other bolt down here. I'll find that later. This head unit, you got 3 bolts on this, needs to be attached like this. This system is now 100% ready to go. All you have to do is plug it in and get to use. One of the cautionary notes when using this system to note is that a lot of times when people are trying it out, they're like, well, hold it, why is the turnstile not working? It doesn't make any sense. Well, the problem is your hands have to be in the system till the very, very end. At the very end of the cycle, the photo eye looks at the hand to make sure it's still there, to verify somebody did wash their hands. It then sends a signal to the turnstile. You'll hear a click. You then have 10 seconds to exit through the process and then to come to the drawing. The workflow on this is always the same. The workflow is going from hand washer to drying device, and you'll see right now this device is actually free flowing because there's no electricity tied to it. So for safety of all of our systems, automatically if we lose power, they're freewheeling, no issues with egress. Now we go ahead and apply power to this cord, plug in the hand washer. Once the hand washer is plugged in, it's going to go ahead and go through a self-clean cycle. Then we're going to go ahead and plug in the turnstile. Once you hear the turnstile plug in, you're going to hear it click. Right now the turnstile is locked, not able to have passage. Once the system gets through the self-clean cycle, we'll go ahead and wash our hands. We'll hear a click, and then we can go ahead and go through the system. Go ahead and put my hands in. We're going to be washing our hands through the system right now. At the end of this cycle, it's going to go ahead and send a signal to the turnstile. It's going to click and allow me to go through. Now I can exit through the process. I can go ahead and dry up as I need to. You're ready to go for the show. The last thing we have to go to is at the end of your show, we have to get ready for close down. Obviously, the first and foremost thing I want you to make sure that you do, once you've done your draining, all your unplumbing, all that, I want you to unplug these things. You make certain they're unplugged. If you have a zip tie, I'd like you to run that zip tie. They'll be in the bag. Run it back through here. Then we know there's no concern of accidentally plugging this in for safety's sake. Again, safety's first. Once that's unplugged, let's talk about the challenges of taking this system apart. I know it may seem like it's pretty simple, but we've had some challenges in the past. So again, first and foremost, you're going to take this head unit off. Let's go ahead and get that done out of the way. But I'm going to show you the challenge inside here. So I only have 2 of the 3 bolts in here. If you remember on the assembly video, I only installed 2, just to be quick, but you need to install 3. Also make sure that you put all the hardware back where you got it. That's very critical because this shipment is possibly going show to show. We don't want to lose these goods because the next person that has to do this work won't have the goods. So I went ahead and unlocked my lid. Again, I'm going to pull that forward. I'm going to take my lid off. Yep, I dropped those keys. Once I have that lid off, sometimes we've had a challenge getting this panel out where we can get to those 4 bolts below. That's why we have this. One of the things that we've sent along with you is a very long extension. If we can't get that panel off because it is warped a little bit or not able to easily get in there, you can actually get in from the top, go all the way down to your 2 bolts. You can see them all the way on the inside. And then I can go ahead and I can remove my 4 bolts from here. Then I can go ahead and take this, get things out of the way. First choice is obviously remove the panel. This is now my backup device should it be a little warped and you're not able to get the panel out of your way. From there, it's pretty easy. Make sure you put all your hardware back in the bags. We do have extra hardware with it. Make sure you have the keys, and make sure when you're taking this all out of the crate, just as a reminder, make sure you put it all back in the same places, wrap it up the same way, because it possibly may be going to the next show. Thanks. Bye.